guys, welcome to the second and final practical class. In this class, I'm going to be showing you how to create a drinks flyer. This is a product promotional material and we're using a drink called Pharaohs. So now to do this project, I've already gathered my resources, my assets, my design assets, the pictures I will use and all of that. To begin, I know you already know the drill to begin. Control N for a new project. Let's enter the size we want to use. We're using a 5 by 3.5, 5 by 3.5, but it's going to be in the portrait mode. And then the resolution is going to be at 300. Now we have this empty canvas. Let me show you some of the assets we'll be using. We'll be using this tabletop. We'll be using this very nice pineapple image, which is a PNG file. We'll be using the palm folds. We'll be using the Pharaohs logo, of course. We'll be using this PNG file of the Pharaohs drink and this very nice umbrella and beach background. So let's get back to this. The first thing to do is to bring in my tabletop image. Now you see that this image has a bit of white on it, but I want to use just the table part. So how do I do that? A selection tool. I'm going to be using the rectangular marquee tool for this. It's also a selection tool. Remember, we discussed this in our introduction to the Photoshop interface video. If you missed that, you can go back to it. Now, since it's a rectangle and what I want to also select is a rectangle, I'll just click and drag. You can see that it didn't get all of the parts. I'll just bring it down a bit, right? And then remember, there are many ways to move this file. I can either copy and paste or drag, but for this I'll be using the copy and paste option. So Ctrl C and then come to my canvas here and press Ctrl V, right? Now this is very small, so I have to transform it, make it bigger. How do I do that? Press Ctrl T. So bring up all of these edges, these anchor points. I'll just drag them. Make sure you do not squeeze this image into something that it is not, right? So just do that by clicking the edges. If you are using a older version of Photoshop, you might have to press down the shift button, right? Okay, so let me drag this a bit more. Okay. Now, yeah, I like this. The second part of this design, since I'm done with this, I'll just close this, Ctrl W. No. The next part, I have to bring in the drink itself. So let me click here, search for the drink, Pharaohs, right? This is selected, Ctrl C, come here, Ctrl V. Right, you see that? Very simple. Now this image already has shadows, so it's very easy for us. I'll just make it bigger, right? Make it bigger and drop it here. Can you see that? It's already looking very nice. Now the next thing to do is I would add the pineapples. Close this up. I will add the pineapple, but I don't want to add all of the pineapple. I want to add just this nice slice here. So how do I do that? I'll use a selection tool to cut it out of this image. And I'm going to use the quick selection tool, right? You just drag over, drag over. Can you see that? It by itself selects the edges of this object that we're trying to pick. And yeah, that works. So I will just Ctrl C to copy it. Come back to my canvas here and do Ctrl V to drop it. Now it is very big, I have to make it smaller. How do I do that? The transformation, Ctrl T, right? And I have to drag down, drag down. Now you notice something about this image, it does not have shadows. So we have to create shadows for it. How do we do that? Very simple. First of all, I want to put it behind the drinks layer so that it will appear like it is behind them. I will just come to the background, to the layer for the pineapple and drag it back here. Can you see that? If I put it on top, it stays on top. If I drag it down, it stays behind, right? So let me reduce it a bit more. Okay, just for realism. Now to add a shadow to this, especially the kind of shadow that the drink has, I have to use the brush tool. Now how do I do that? First of all, create a new layer. You can create a new layer by pressing Ctrl Shift Alt N. I know that's a mouthful, but that's it. Ctrl Shift Alt N. Or you come and click on this plus sign and it automatically create a new layer for you. Now once that is created, I'll pick my brush tool, change my foreground color to white. I'll come here, click on the color on top and change it to black. Okay, and then I will just increase this and just paint once. Just click once. You can see that. Now that doesn't look like a shadow, obviously, but just go with me. Now I will transform this shape into something else by pressing Ctrl T. Now, and I will now pull the anchor points here down and pull from this side too. I'll drag it under this guy and bring the layer behind. Can you see that? Can you see that? That looks very realistic. Let me remove the shadow. Let me put the shadow. In fact, I'm going to reduce the opacity a bit so that it doesn't look too harsh. Yeah, that works. So that is how to achieve that. Number 3, I'm going to bring in the background of our the beach. So I'll come to my list of, click here. Drag and drop. Right. Now it is covering all of these other ones because it is on the top of everyone. Remember, Photoshop works with the layer system. It is one layer on top of each other. So I'm just gonna drag this to the back, like back. Now you can see that it is looking better here. Now in photography we have something called focus. We want the focus of this design to be on the Feroz and we don't want it to be distracted by the background we have. So I'm going to blur out this layer of the beach. Now how do I do that? Click on the layer or click from here, come to filter, right, and then come under blur. And under blur, click the option called Gaussian blur. Bam. Can you see that? So at 18, it looks very nice, but let's reduce it a bit more. Let's change it to about 5. Right? Or 7. Say at 7. Now look at it at 7. It is putting the focus on our Feroz drink and not the background. That's a very good tip to take note of. I'll click OK. We're almost there. The next thing I will do is to bring in the logo, right? I'll drag in the Feroz logo now and drop it here. The middle, somewhere here. Right? Nice. And then I will add the palm folds too, just at the edges, to accompany that very tropical kind of feel, a tropical kind of vibe. See that? Now, you can see that in just a matter of minutes, we've created a piece that looks very nice. But to crown it all up, we'll do something with our typography. So let's add a bit of typography to this. I'm going to type something. I'll come to your type tool, click on the canvas and type whatever you want. For me, I'll be typing refreshing enjoyment. Now they are very big, so how to adjust that, I'll press Ctrl A to select everything, come to the sizing here, and let's bring it down to about 48. That's not looking bad. Also, you notice that it looks that like they are clamped up. That's because the spacing between them is not enough. And how do you get into all of that setting? Just press, after you've selected everything and you're on your type tool, just press Ctrl T. It's going to bring out these options for you. Note that you must, to get this option, you must have selected all of this, and you must be on your type tool, the typography tool. So now you can see here, the space between two lines is called the leading. The space in between each of those words is called the tracking. Do you understand? So I'm going to change the size of the leading to about 36. See, that's much better. I'm going to change the tracking to about -50. I like that. I made a mistake with my spelling. Enjoyment. Refreshing enjoyment. Now that we've done this, you notice that it is now on top of my drinks. Why is it there? Because the layer is on top of the drinks layer here. So to adjust that, I'll just come to the layers panel, click and drag it beneath my drinks layer. This is why it is important for you to label all of your layer. You can rename them so that it's easier for you to navigate. Now that I've done this, I'll take you to the top. Can you see that? Can you see that? Can you see that? Nice. Let me adjust my leaves a bit so it will not cover up the text a lot. Right? Refreshing enjoyment. Now I could leave this like this and it makes sense, but let me just add a bit of effect. So the first thing I want to do is to tilt my text a bit, make it tilted to one angle to show like a kind of movement, excitement, right? So I'll press Ctrl T to transform. I'll come here and hold down I'll come to this middle anchor point and hold down my Control key, and that will allow you to do something like this. So once you hold down your Control key, you can click and drag. Can you see that? Can you see that? So you can use it to do a lot of crazy stuff, but today we'll just do something very small. We'll just drag like this, right? Let's bring it down a bit. Cool. That is not all. That's not all we'll be doing. Also, I'll be changing the color of this text to this very nice yellow that we can find on these drinks. Can you see that? Wow, this is so nice looking. But still not done. Now, let me show you a part of Photoshop that we did not mention in the introduction to Photoshop interface video. It is called the layer style. Now, to access the layer style, you come to the layer that you want to style and then double click on it. And then to bring up these very wonderful options that you can use. We have the drop shadow, the outer glow, pattern overlay, gradient overlay, all of those things that you can play with and just to get used to them. But for this specific design, I'll be using just a few of them. I'll be using my drop shadow so as to make the text come out a bit bolder. Now, I would advise that you just play with all of these, points to see what works best for you. But for this, just watch as I play with them. So I'll start with opacity. Opacity means the brightness. So I'll make it about 40%. The size, look at what the size does. Can you see? There's difference. This is very sharp. This is a bit blurred, so I'll keep it here, about 10. The distance from the text itself, can you see that? So I'll just keep it somewhere around here. There is no specific parameters to use, just use based on what you feel works best for the projects you're working on. Also, I'll use a stroke option. I'll stroke it with this very nice white. Let's put it outside, not inside. There's the outside option, there's the inside option, there's the center option. Okay, let's use the center and change it to about 5. And then lastly, I'm going to put the gradient overlay. Oh wow, that looks nice. Just gonna reduce it a bit and click OK. Now, about the layer style, please take your time. Just pick a text, click on it, and then use all of them on that text to see how they work and the kind of effect they can help you achieve. So that brings us to the end of this practical class. Now, as you can see, this is a very good design. This can be printed on billboards, printed on flyers and all of that, but there's still more that can be done. And you can only get to know this more when you spend time in the software itself. So I hope the journey has been wonderful for you, and I hope that you've been able to gain the basic knowledge you use in starting your graphic design journey. That's been awesome leading you through this process. I'm so glad that you made this investment in yourself.